I'm a former athlete and corporate researcher who became bedridden for years. Changing my diet changed my life. Now I'm a health journalist, and I get to interview some of the most fascinating people in health today. I'm Alex. This is Healthy News. Hi, it's Alex, a Med Nauseam blog reporting for Natural News TV, and today I'm standing in a graveyard, not because my topic today, which is earthing, has anything to do with a graveyard, but this happens to be the first place I actually earthed. I was at a family member's burial, and a friend of mine had told me about the benefits of earthing, so I just took off my shoes and put my bare feet on the ground during the burial. And since then, I've learned a whole lot more about earthing, so I wanted to share some of what I learned with you today. So earthing really has nothing to do with being in graveyards, but I just wanted to prove the point that you could really earth anywhere you want to. And in fact, some are calling earthing the fountain of youth, and I'm going to explain to you why. So to bring you this information on earthing today, and by the way, it's also called grounding, I've done a lot of research. I've read a book written by Clint Ober, who's the guy who is credited with discovering earthing and the health benefits of it. That book is right here. It's called Earthing. And I attended a lecture by Dr. Stephen Sinatra, the heart surgeon. He calls earthing an electroceutical, which is pretty interesting. I've also talked to an earthing researcher by the name of Dr. Amalu, whose thermography images are cited in the book by Clint Ober that I just showed you. And finally, I've actually had a bunch of conversations on the phone with Clint Ober himself to educate myself more about earthing. So earthing, which is also known as grounding, is about restoring the body's most natural electrical state. And earthing really does two things. Number one, it restores lost electrons in the human body, and there's a lot of research to prove that and back it up, and there are a lot of health benefits that go with that, and I'm going to show you the research that supports that later. The second thing it does is that it actually helps dispel EMFs from our body, which is also a pretty amazing thing. So how does it work? Well, first of all, what we have to know is that by touching the earth, and you could be touching ground with bare feet, you could be walking on the sand, you could be on the grass, you could even be touching a plant, you could even be on cement, which is conductive also. And what that does is allows electrons from the earth to go into our body. And the theory is that because the earth is struck by lightning 5,000 times a minute, it is an endless supply of electrons. And electrons have a negative charge. Well, our bodies are electric, and we have a lot of things in our body called free radicals, and they're looking for an electron. So if you're connecting with the earth, you are giving those free radicals the electron they're looking for, so you can actually prevent the free radicals from damaging your own tissue, because they'll pick up that electron from the earth, which is pretty neat. And so if you are feeding those free radicals with the electrons, then you prevent the inflammation that goes with free radical damage, and you prevent pain and inflammation that goes with that. So that's just one piece of it that's really amazing. It's interesting, we've been insulating ourselves from the earth since the 1960s, since we started wearing rubber shoes. We've become insulated from the earth. And so earthing is all about trying to reconnect with the earth with bare feet outside. And actually today I'm going to show you also how we can actually earth inside very effectively. So my personal experience with earthing has been kind of amazing, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about me before I get into some of the research cited in the book called Earthing. And I have Lyme disease. I was bitten by a tick almost 20 years ago, and I was only diagnosed a couple years ago, so Lyme had a lot of time to go wild in my system. I've suffered a lot of health problems. I was bedridden for 3 years before I changed my diet, and I was able to, within 3 or 4 months, go back to work after that. But still, the Lyme symptoms kept charging ahead, and especially like neurologically, it started to really damage me. And one of the effects of that is I had an unrelenting insomnia. There was one period I had where I couldn't sleep day or night for 3.5 months. And I've spent the last 8 years with that problem, and I'd never had it before. And basically I went to bed every night not knowing if I was going to sleep that night or be up the whole night. And I've tried all sorts of natural sleep supplements, and I ended up, even though I'm against pharmaceuticals except as a last resort, this was a last resort, so I tried a bunch of different pharmaceuticals and they didn't work either. And one of the hallmarks of Lyme is pharmaceutical resistant, well, sleep med resistant insomnia. And so the insomnia just kept trudging on, and I just had to deal with it. And I ended up finally there was one pharmaceutical that I found, and in a very low dose, it started to help me sleep, but I couldn't stand being on it because I don't like being on any pharmaceuticals. And I was on that for about 6 months. And it was working, but again, I really didn't like it. And then I went to the David Wolf Longevity Now conference, and everybody in the conference room, 1,000 people, got earthed. And I first noticed that my head pain was a lot less. That's another symptom I've had for a long time. I've actually had a headache since 1996, if you can believe that. So that's 14 years of a headache. And I noticed that, wow, when I got earthed at the conference, my head pain might have felt less. And I thought, wow, that could be a placebo effect. But then that night, I slept earthed, and I slept really well. And it was kind of amazing to me because especially when I travel, my sleep just goes way out of control. So I kept earthing myself at night. I just did it for about, 3 to 4 weeks. And finally, about 4 weeks into it, I dropped the sleeping medication. And my doctors had said, oh, you're going to have to kind of taper down on this really slowly and carve off a little bit of the pill every night each week and go down, week by week, step by step for I don't know how many months they wanted me to taper down. But one night I just felt like, God, I really don't think I need it anymore because I've been sleeping so much better since I've started being earthed. And lo and behold, I went off of it cold turkey. And now I've been off of it for about 4 weeks, and it's just felt amazing. I can't even tell you how much better I'm feeling not being on that and actually sleeping naturally. I do take a couple sleep supplements still, but I'm going off of those, and I'm really just down to like 1 or 2 right now, which is pretty amazing. So anyway, that's my personal experience with earthing, and now I'll get you into less anecdotal, more researchy stuff right now. So the early studies into earthing really support, I would say, like 3 main health benefits that I can group everything into. And number 1 is this concept of neutralizing the free radicals, because when you neutralize free radicals with the electron from the earth, then you reduce inflammation. And after you reduce inflammation, then you can start to reduce pain. And Dr. William Amalu, who's a thermographer here in the San Francisco Bay Area, he's done a lot of studies showing that people who get earthed actually get increased blood flow to their extremities, reduced pain, and reduced inflammation, and even accelerated wound healing. And so his research really supports that. You can read about that in the earthing book. And second, earthing seems to normalize metabolic and endocrine functions. So